From Florida, Republican Congresswoman, Colonel Allen West. Congressman,
Thanks a lot,
welcome
Brian.
to the show. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I know. Hey, but first off, your answer to the president?
Well, I would say this. The president is the benefactor of a lot of information that came from waterboarding. And the most important thing is when you look at the precedent, non-state, non-uniform belligerents captured on the battlefield under the Geneva Convention are not afforded the same type of rights. We can make that determination. And as the president, you need to do those things which are necessary to make sure that the American people are kept safe. I see that when we continue to read Miranda rights to people such as the underwear bomber, we are using an advantage and a leverage that we have. And furthermore, in the movie G.I. Jane, Demi Moore was waterboarded, and we do use that in military training, in survival, escape, resistance, and evasion training.
And she ended up with a much younger husband in real life, so
that's right.
That's related. Colonel, on top of that, you're very intimately involved with this because you almost got court-martialed because of the way you handled a situation where you had a detainee in your presence and you knew American lives were at stake.
Well, that's the thing. And so as a commander, that's my responsibility, and it's a responsibility not just to those men but also to their families to do what's necessary. So I use a psychological intimidation tactic to fire a pistol over his head, and it kept my men safe. Of course, you know, they took it to an investigative hearing, but I'm here today as a congressional representative, and I still continue to fight for men and women in uniform.
How concerned are you that the Super Committee, who has 10 days to come up with some type of agreement, cutting over $1 trillion from the budget, as well as other reforms, that they're not going to reach that budget and there's going to be some automatic massive cuts to defense?
Well, I'm very concerned. What we saw last week was members on the House and the Senate GOP side were able to show them that you can get revenues, not by raising taxes, but just by simply lowering rates and then, of course, eliminating loopholes, those savings within the tax code, and they walked away from it. So it's interesting. We have this little sheet that I carry around that talks about the impact to defense.
Impact of defense?
Absolutely. And so you're talking about an Army that goes from 569,000 down to 426,000. You're talking about going from 288 Navy war vessels down to 238, 100 Army maneuver battalions down to 60 to 70. And we can't have those type of things happen to a military. We can't make the military, the families of the military, or the veterans, the bill payers, of fiscal irresponsibility.
I just don't understand why cutting defense is bad for Republicans. To cut defense down to those levels is bad for Americans.
It's absolutely bad for Americans, but I think that you have people on the Democrat side that see the military as being the bill payer for what they want to do as far as domestic welfare programs.
Something happened last week, non-military related, but certainly affects our economy. The Keystone Pipeline has been punted for a year.
Yes.
It would have brought this friendly country called Canada. We would have had oil streaming from them. They want the business. We want the jobs.
Yes.
It would seem to be a win-win. Are you surprised the president could not come up with a decision?
No, I'm not surprised because you have a campaigner-in-chief and not a commander-in-chief. The decision in Iraq to zero out our troops there, and now also the pressure that he got from Hollywood elites and from the environmental lobby group, which now affects our national security, our economy, and also, as you say, job creation, to say that we're going to table this Keystone XL pipeline decision until after the election.
When you become a colonel, you go through a lot of leadership courses and classes from the day you get into what you achieved. Where's the leadership quotient? What kind of grade would you give the president when so many of these tough decisions he just puts off?
Well, I think that you have to give him probably a D-. Now, I will give the president a lot of credit for the fact that when we had the intelligence on Osama bin Laden and al-Awlaki, he did give the green light for us to go ahead. But when you look at the day-to-day decisions that are being made, I think you're going to have some long ramifications because they're being made based upon political expediency and not for what's best for our country.
And I just want to conclude by just going back for a second. It's really not waterboarding. It's a minor point in this big issue. We still don't have an effective policy with detainees. We don't know where to put them. We don't know how to handle them. That is the story.
It's an absolutely story. And when you look at what's happened in Guantanamo Bay, when you look at the fact that we've got a gentleman by the name of Warsami, who we picked up from al-Shabaab of Somalia, we kept him for about 2 weeks on a naval war vessel, and then we turned him over to law enforcement and read him his Miranda rights.
I know you think one step at a time. You want to be the best officer you can be, and then you want to be the best congressman you can be. Would you say that one of your goals would be president?
Oh, I can't say that. I mean, that's a decision that's, really a calling, and that's something that the American people would have to look at. My family would have to.
You wouldn't rule it out, though?
Well, I'm here to serve my nation.
And you're doing it.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming to New York. If you have any problems with the streets, I know my way around. I grew up basically.
Good, because this is not like down south.
It's a little different than Florida. I'm just going to tell you. A lot more buildings, a lot more cement. All right, Colonel, thanks so much.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, meanwhile, at 11 minutes out before the top of the hour,